Welcome, everybody, to Sports Shorts Daily, presented by LeBear's Casino. Ronnie Rance alongside Tommy Krysan. TK joining us from Tremonti's Meat and Seafood, where they're still recovering from this past Saturday's meat sale, their annual meat sale, which is just crazy. They move more meat in one day than most people do in a whole 2-3 months at other meat stores. Today on Sports Shorts Daily, presented by our friends over at LeBear's Casino, we'll talk about this big trade that happened yesterday in for the Saints. C.J. Gardner-Johnson headed to Philadelphia in exchange for a couple of draft picks. I know people are wondering, scratching their head, what about this move? We'll break it down and give you our opinion. 53-man roster, a couple surprises with the Saints. Tommy will give you his take on that. Obviously, we know LSU's playing Sunday. The surprise is that the line is not moving right now. LSU is a 3-point favorite. It's been holding steady, 51.5 to over-under, holding steady. So the money's not pouring in. The belief that the Tigers are going to take care of business and not pouring in like you would think. Maybe some of that has to do with the fact that Brian Kelly is holding close to the vest who's going to be the starting quarterback. That has not come out publicly. He said he's not going to say who the quarterback is. It's been told internally. The players and everybody know, but it's not made its way out publicly, although there's a lot of thoughts as to who it was. There's been certain people that have said 100% it's Jaden Daniels, the former starting quarterback at Arizona State. But for the gamblers, for the national casinos and whatnot, they don't know who the quarterback's going to be. So I think that has a lot to do with why the line is sitting where it's at. We'll get into that. Also, Tennessee playing Thursday night against Ball State. Tennessee is one of the early big-time opponents. Going to be in Tiger Stadium October 8th. Probably going to be the toughest test on LSU's schedule in that first 5-game stretch or so. And so if you want to get a little sneak peek on them, you'll get a chance to see Tennessee Thursday night against Ball State, 35-point favorite. We'll see if Tennessee is for real. A lot of people buying Tennessee this year. Let's bring in TK. Tommy, first off, C.J. Gardner-Johnson. I thought he was arguably one of the top 3 defenders for LSU, for the Saints rather, last year. Didn't get a chance to play the whole season, played 11 or 12 games, but was fantastic, caused havoc. We all remember him talking trash to Tom Brady, getting under his skin in one of the more dominant defensive performances ever over in Tampa Bay last year for that Saints defense. This shocked me and a lot of people, and nobody saw this coming, that he was going to get traded. Why did he get traded, and what do you think about the trade?
Well, first off, yesterday afternoon, I got a text from a good friend who's a huge Saints fan. He knows more about the roster than me and you put together. And he was stunned, shocked. He goes, how could they trade a guy that's so good and, such a key part of the defense and all? Then I started looking into it, and, there are those that say that's the deepest position depth-wise for the Saints. But you and I were talking a few minutes before the tape rolled that they didn't get enough points. You made that point, and I agree with you. I'd like you to elaborate on that, because the value that he had last year on a good Saints defense, and now he's going to play for the Eagles.
So the trade, they send him over, and look, he wasn't going to – they couldn't work out a long-term deal. They felt like they were obviously super far apart and wasn't going to get worked out, so they went ahead and traded him. Well, you trade him with a 7th-round tag or whatever in 2000, an undisclosed choice. But I think for whatever reason, it kept saying 7th-round pick in 2006 or 2025, excuse me. Saints get back a 5th and a 6th, 23 and 24. So I'm scratching my head thinking, okay, you made this trade because you feel like you're not going to have C.J. Gardner-Johnson for next season. But you have him for this season. And in my mind, and you're giving up a 7th, you're sending him in a 7th, getting back a 5th and a 6th. In my mind, I would rather have C.J. Gardner-Johnson for one season and knowing he's gone after next season versus a 5th or 6th round pick. Because first off, there's no guarantee a 5th or 6th round pick is going to A, make the team, and B, be anywhere near as good as C.J. Gardner-Johnson is. And so I think the value, and this is interesting because the Saints have always been more of a win now team anyway, and especially with the salary cap, right? They've been more of a win now situation. And you've got a guy who is arguably one of your best defenders. You're going to have him for a whole season, and instead you move him for a future 5th or 6th round pick that may not make the team, may not be anywhere near the player that CJ Gardner-Johnson is. I don't know that I love this trade. And to me, it looks like the Philadelphia Eagles got the better of the Saints again, something they've done 2 or 3 times in the last decade.
Well, yeah, and this is one of them trades that it might be easier to make comment on going down the road, okay? If it ends up with the Saints do very well and they don't miss him, okay. But if the Saints, the injury bug jumps up and gets the Saints, then people could be saying, oh, they're going to wish they had Gardner-Johnson right now if it hits them at that position. And we all know injuries are part of football. But, as Jamie points out, he's got a little bit of a mouth. He likes to jaw jack a little bit. And I've heard he's a little vocal in the locker room as well. So maybe that's not what Dennis Allen wants in the clubhouse or in the locker room. I don't know the inner workings, but I think you make a great point that, I'd rather have him for this year when you're really thinking, hey, if Jameis Winston does good, we got all these offensive weapons, we got wide receivers, maybe this could be the difference in winning a Super Bowl or getting to a Super Bowl. And then you worry about, because the Saints have always had the win now mentality and worry about tomorrow. And so it's a trade that people are going to keep an eye on it. It's not going to go away. You're going to think back on it, and maybe 8 weeks into the season, it'll be like, okay, they haven't missed him. Or maybe it'll be like, boy, it'd be good to have him right now if some other people are lighting up the Saints.
It's interesting. It's possible that you're right. Look, he's worn out his welcome. That mouth has been running in that locker room. Dennis Allen's been his position coach, a defensive coordinator, now head coach. And he may just be like, man, this guy, we're just so tired of it. And oh, by the way, Michael Thomas, probably not the biggest CJ Gardner-Johnson fan, right? He's probably being a professional and all that, but we know it was very public about the fight. And if you're going to defend someone, you're going to defend your franchise wide receiver that you already have under contract versus a guy who's got 1 more year left. And so this may be a situation where Michael Thomas, his people, or Mike, you're making Michael Thomas happy. Maybe the mouth is just too much, and over time, after 3 years, the coaches are just like, man, I mean, we just can't take it anymore. And so there definitely has to be more to this story than just straight signing him next year.
I'm going to speculate that championship teams don't have big problems in the locker room. Every locker room's got problems. Okay, and back in the 70s, the Oakland A's won 3 straight World Series, couldn't stand each other. I mean, it was awful, but and that's 50 years ago. But I think these coaches these days, they want that locker room to be as close knit as possible. Now you got 53 personalities in there, plus the practice squad guys. You got 25 coaches. You got a lot of people in the building, so you're gonna have some situations, but if you got one that sticks out too much, I think most NFL coaches don't want that, especially if they're a team aspiring to, win a championship, win a Super Bowl, win the NFC South, win the NFC. So I'm speculating there. That's just pure TKism there, but we'll see. Time will tell.
Time will tell. And the Saints have been pretty smooth and over the most part with their decisions. This one is going to be something to watch over the next couple of years for sure. So CJ Gardner-Johnson, one of my favorite players, didn't have to be in the locker room with him, didn't have to hear what he was saying, didn't have to coach him, but just knowing that he was that guy that you love him if he's on your team, you hate him if he's on the other team. Now he's gone. We'll see what happens. I guess Tyrann Mathieu said, hey, we got one guy, one voice here in the backfield. That could be, it's mine. We don't need this kid challenging me. So that could be all of that could be a factor. All right. So I know you're surprised that the LSU line has not moved a lick. I mean, it's LSU -3. Is it because the quarterback? I think that's what it is that they don't know who the starting quarterback is. So it's hard for big money to come in either way while we're waiting to figure that out.
Yeah, the wise guys can't figure it out. Just like, LSU's not ranked. I think LSU got a chance to finish the season being ranked somewhere. And if they win a little more than 8, they're definitely going to be ranked. So I just think that there's uncertainty. There's a new head coach, a completely new coaching staff, coordinators on down, and a significantly overhauled roster. I just think that they're putting the question mark on. Now, if they go out and beat Florida State, 42-10, which I hope happens, then the national attention may be a little bit different. And they play Southern the following week, so don't worry about the line on that game. But then you got Mississippi State coming to town on September 17, SEC play, blah, blah, blah. So I think there's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of question marks in the minds of the wise guys, the national media, and everybody can't wait to look Sunday night, including you and I and all the LSU fans. They can't wait to see what happens Sunday night. By the way, are you going to that game?
Absolutely, yeah. No, definitely will be there.
Well, we're going to do a programming note on the air. Court Street Cafe is closed on Monday. So do you think we need to do a show Monday because it's after the LSU opener, or do we wait till Tuesday? And this is good for the fans listening to us, too. We're talking shop on the air.
No, I definitely think we should do a show Monday.
Okay.
Monday, just whatever
we'll
time during the day.
And we'll go to Court Street another day that week. But yeah, I think after the opener, we should do one Monday morning. I'll just do it from home and all that stuff. Okay, there you go. All you guys, Jamie and Chance, all you guys listening, we will have a show Monday, even though it's Labor Day.
Yeah.
10 a.m. or approximately 10 a.m.
I really, really excited about watching to see with this LSU team, as far as, obviously everybody wants to watch the quarterback position. That goes without saying. But for me, outside of the quarterback position, I want to see, that offensive line, because we know the defensive line is going to be outstanding and arguably the best defensive line, one of the best defensive lines in the country. But you're only going to go so far as that offensive line, and you're going to probably rely on that offensive line even more so. The first, obviously the Florida State game, you don't have John Emery. You're going to try to run the football. You're going to take care of the football. They're probably going to go with the Jameis Winston approach that John Payton had, which is just don't lose the game. Don't turn the ball over. Like, that's what I would tell both of these young quarterbacks, right, is protect the football. If it's not there, run it, hold on to it, don't fumble. And this is an offensive line that's had a lot of new faces. I mean, obviously you got Campbell, a true freshman at left tackle. I mean, when does that happen? You have a true freshman, not a red shirt, true freshman playing left tackle. I mean, so all of that is – I am more interested to see who's going to start, how they're going to do. I heard reports a couple of weeks ago from people that were at practice that they looked terrible at one point. Even one time, Brian Kelly went over to some boosters that were watching and said, "I'm embarrassed you're here. We look so terrible." And so, how have they grown and who's the starter? And so the offensive line for me, outside of the obvious, which is the quarterbacks, is what I'm going to be looking at. That offense, to me, I hope the defense, and I think the defense is going to carry this team. That's why I like the under on this first game.
Well, a couple of things. Everybody can't wait for them to pull the curtain back. See what we got here. Offense, defense, special teams, place kickers, unknown. We've been spoiled with York and Tracy the last handful of years. Mike Scarborough made a great point on Hold the Rope last night. And he talked about the thing Brian Kelly said Monday about the nutrition, the strength and conditioning, and the medical staff. This is the most injury-free fall camp in many, many years at LSU. And Mike Scarborough was out there, every time the media could be there, Mike was there. And he said he thinks this team's in better physical condition and shape than any LSU team he's seen in many years. And he said, now they haven't tackled a lot. So, I mean, if they miss a bunch of tackles Sunday night, they're going to say, okay, they didn't tackle enough. But the physical condition and the health of this team, including the depth across the roster, Brian Kelly made that point Monday in his presser. Scarborough kind of echoed it last night on Hold the Rope. And that's something I wanted to point out.
By the way, last night you had the Hold the Rope show with Skip Bertman and Dan Canterbury. You had Jay Johnson on. I'm sure it was a great interview. I didn't get a chance to see it. I was up at Shreveport.
It was really, really good.
I'm gonna watch it online today when I'm traveling. But Kim, I was at the Independence Bowl kickoff dinner that they had, big 600 something people at the
It's,
Shreveport Convention Center. Kim Mulkey was the guest speaker, so that's why I was there.
Jay comes on about 15 minutes in if you want to scroll ahead a little bit.
Okay. Give me one thing Jay said from the show last night that maybe you didn't know or was a surprise or something like that.
Wow.
Anything you learned that you didn't already know?
I'll say this. Before the season started, Jordan Thompson had a significant leg injury that they kind of played it down a little bit. And Jay Johnson said you couldn't play low to the ground, and that was part of the reason for a lot of the errors, the throwing errors and whatnot in the early part of the season. He did get better in the second half. He said Jordan Thompson's looking absolutely great now at short. Okay. And then, we asked him about all the new guys, and he just said, hey, it's been a good thing. His coaches are working hard. They're working 8 hours a week now. They can do 4 hours of strength and conditioning with the players and 4 hours of individual work. In fact, I'm going on Friday. Coach Bertman and I are going at Friday at 12:30. They're going to show us the new pitching lab. And they got a mound in there, Ronnie, that's like does all the analytics, like how much weight's on your back foot, how much weight when you land on the front foot. I mean, it's just like advanced technology and analytics. And I'm looking forward to seeing all that Friday, being a former pitcher, not good enough to pitch on a mound like that, but you know what I'm saying. So, but that he talked about scheduling. He's already working on a 24 schedule. And he talked about, it's important, like what they did last year, to go to Houston and play some quality teams. Because as he put it, the 30 games, the 10 3-game series in the SEC, it's big time. He also told a story about how when he got the job, they told him people would come out for fall practice. And he's like, are you serious? They're going to come watch fall practice? And he said that he was out there doing some drills, and all of a sudden he looked around, there were 1,500 people in the stands at a fall practice. He goes, well, they were right. They came out here. And the fall scrimmages will be open to the public this fall. Like when they're inter-squadding and when they're going to play in Lafayette against the Raging Cajuns, they're going to host McNeese on the Sunday afternoon following the LSU-Bama game. So November 6th, they play McNeese like 12 or 1 o'clock with Justin Hill coming in. We get a little spillover from the LSU-Alabama football crowd. And obviously that'll be open to the public. So they encourage people when they're inter-squadding or playing purple and gold stuff to come on out. But some of the other practices won't be open to the public.
Really looking forward to seeing them over in Lafayette. That's for sure. When they take on the Raging Cajuns
That'll be a big crowd. There'll be a big crowd at that game.
That'll be good. And plus, it's good for the players to get on the road, and especially some of the newcomers. I mean, think of the newcomers that LSU has, and whether it be freshmen or whether it be transfers, some of those guys are going to be playing in front of a bigger crowd in a fall game at Lafayette than they will at any game they played last year anywhere. So, I mean, that's crazy. And the same can be said for a home game against McNeese. All right, moving on to the back to LSU just for a second. Everything we're hearing unofficial is that Jayden Daniels should be the starting quarterback, but it's looking more and more, and I said this the other day. I think they really are going to play two quarterbacks, even though we know that Brian Kelly doesn't like playing two quarterbacks, and he said that vocally many times that that's not my preferred thing, and it was miserable the year I had to do it. But like everything he's saying now, the packages are the same. We can call the same plays. It's super close. And you hear other players talk about the battle over the course of the summer. They were talking about how neck and neck it was and how competitive they both are. Not to mention Nussmeier's kind of the beloved figure more in that locker room from a standpoint of guys that were here last year in the administration. And I think and even Brian Kelly said in his press conference on Monday that, hey, this isn't the first string guy and the second string guy's got the baseball hat on and the helmet under the bench. This is this is both of them have their helmets on, ready to go at a moment's notice. So that means that I really do believe Brian Kelly is going to end up playing both of these guys. Obviously, one more than two, but he's got me convinced.
Yeah, Ronnie, here's what I think. I think Jayden Daniels will be the starter, and I think Nussmeier is going to get what I'm going to define as a meaningful snap. If LSU's up 35-7 with 8 minutes to go and Nussmeier goes in, I don't call that a meaningful snap. I think he's going to get in the game somewhere in the first half or somewhere in the game if it's close, tight, at some point. I don't imagine I don't see. Put it this way: if Jaden Daniels or Nussmeier takes every snap in the game, that means LSU has won big time. Okay, that means they're performing. The offense is working as a cohesive unit, and they're good. So I think Jaden Daniels will start. That's a pure guess. I have no inside information, but I think Nussmeier is going to take a meaningful snap. Might be a series late in the second quarter. Maybe LSU gets a turnover inside the 20, and they throw him in there for a little bit of a wrinkle. We'll just have to wait and see. All right, Ronnie, I got to update an old saying in the world of football. I heard it on the radio this morning. They were talking about the quarterbacks in the NFL being cut, okay? And they were saying, like, they're going to find another team to hold a clipboard. Hold the clipboard. We got to start saying hold the iPad, okay? Because they don't use clipboards anymore. They use iPads. It's kind of like when I used to announce high school football, when it'd be third down and like 41 yards for the first, I'd say third down and a $2 cab ride. Well, now it's got to be an Uber ride, okay? So, all you football people out there talking about backup quarterbacks, they're not holding a clipboard, they're holding an iPad. I just thought I'd throw that in there. I don't know what that has to do with anything, but it rode in my brain today.
I will say that I am probably normally I don't like the two quarterback system, Tommy, and from a standpoint of I think it's a bad thing for the team. And usually when the old saying, if you don't have one, you definitely don't have it with two. But I want to see them develop two quarterbacks because you just never know what's going to happen. Now, obviously the injury factor, but just transfer portal and the way people can get upset about things. I think it's a smart move to keep Nussmeier engaged and have him play some, even if it's just so that he doesn't mentally give up or transfer. You can't have enough good quarterbacks. And obviously you'd like to really redshirt the Walker Howard kid so you have his full slate of eligibility remaining for the future and not have to burn him on a couple of games. So I think he is a good quarterback. I'd like to see both of these guys really, truly play some meaningful snaps if you don't have a clear-cut, obvious guy. And I think that can be necessarily a good thing. We all go back to Hodson and Guidry and how they did it successfully back in the day.
Burt Jones rotated with Mike Lee.
Right.
Now, and here's the other thing. The following week they play the Southern Jaguars in Tiger Stadium. I'd bet a Diet Coke both quarterbacks get snaps that game, but that's a different situation. LSU is going to get out to a big lead. So it's a better measuring stick this week and perhaps, once Mississippi State comes to town for game 3 on the schedule. So, but hey, Brian Kelly's going to put the guy out there he thinks gives him the best chance to win. And we're just going to have to defer to him. And like I said, can't wait for them to pull the curtain back come Sunday night. It'll be showtime.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the 53-man roster for a second for LSU for the Saints. Give me your take. Obviously, Ian Book was cut. Doesn't mean he can't be added to the practice squad or whatever. It's not that the Saints have completely given up on him, but you thought this would happen, that they would cut him. I thought it would too, because you can always use Taysom Hill as an emergency third-string quarterback. Outside of that, any big surprises or anything that you saw from the Saints roster?
It cut a couple linebackers and some people were high on, the Baum kid and one other one, but they got a lot of depth there. I mean, the Saints on paper, it's a hell of a football team. I think they're going to win in the NFC South, but you don't win anything on paper. So I think this is, it's going to, like you said, Monday, they're going to go as Jameis Winston goes. If Winston has a Pro Bowl type year, Saints are going to be playing deep into the playoffs. If he struggles, it'll be the other way. But they're going to hang their hat on the defense. The defense's goal is going to be give up 20 or less points. I mean, it is an offensive league, and you play against a lot of offensive-minded teams. So I think the Saints team, I think the expectations should be pretty high.
Tennessee, Thursday night, 35-point favorite against Ball State. You're intrigued by this game, I know.
Well, it's they come to Baton Rouge October 8th. That's only 7 weeks away, 6 weeks away. So that's not that 6.5 weeks away. And the Volunteers have been popping off a lot about how good they are and this, that, and the other. And they always think they're a little better than they are. Certainly, that's been the measuring stick the last couple of years. 35-point favorite. You'd want to lay the points if you're going to bet that game. But I think LSU fans can get a good look at Tennessee because they're going to try to come out the gate strong, and they're going to try to step on Ball State, and be a good little chance for you to get a little scouting report on the Volunteers, and if they struggle or they're having trouble, with Ball State, then maybe they're not as good as anybody thought.
I am curious about Tennessee because I'm kind of one that's buying what they're doing over there. Obviously, we need to see it, but I'm kind of buying them. I think they have a chance to be a little bit of a surprise, maybe the A&M of 2022 or something like that. So I'll be watching that game intently. Don't think I'm going to put anything on it though. Ball State's. What do I know about Ball State? Right, I have to dig and see. I don't know. The concern that I have about the mid majors like the Ball States and the UL Lafayette's and all that in the world. With this new transfer portal, the way it is, and now like this year, the transfer portal was even more active than last year, is how much do these schools get fleeced from one year to the next? You could have a good team at Ball State this year, and then you lose 3 of your offensive linemen to a Power 5 school next year, and then what are you? So that's my concern. In the old days, I probably would have taken Ball State plus 35 if it was 10 years ago. But nowadays, I mean, I'd have to do 45 minutes of research to figure out Ball State if they're any good or not based on their personnel, because you can't just go off of what they did last year. You got to look and see who they lost, who they added. I mean, because it's complicated for those mid majors.
Well, and Tennessee wants to make a statement, okay, and that's why I think they'll pour it on. And if you want to bet $10 or $20, lay to 35 and see what happens.
Yeah, I would just bet enough to keep you interested, not necessarily.
Yeah, enough reason to look at the score.
Yeah. All right. Tell us about Tremonti's, Tommy. I know you're over there. They're probably exhausted from Saturday, even though we were here on a Wednesday morning. They got crushed on Saturday with their big meat sale.
Well, first and foremost, I want to thank everybody for coming out. There was a line outside the door before they unlocked them at 9 o'clock. They sold out of bacon. They sold out of crawfish tails. Sold out of the pork tenderloins. I mean, a lot of things went out. They had a few things left over, and they keep keeping them on sale. That's a special if you walk in there. Also, swamp buckets for the newest and latest craze. They sold 75 swamp buckets on Saturday. They had the guy that owned that company outside.
Is that the shrimp? Is that
the little bucket where you do shrimp, or you can do a dozen crabs or whatever. So that was okay. I got about a dozen of them left in here. They had over 100 in here for the sale. So you can still get them. Swampbuckets.com if you're wondering what that's all about. But look, they've restocked the whiskey selection, the wine, and there's a bourbon raffle. Go to Tremonti's.com, and click the bourbon raffle tab. It'll give you all the details. I'm in it. I bought my pack of 5 tickets for $100. Lots of people are in it. It's coming up about 3 weeks from now. Bourbon raffle at Tremonti's Meat and Seafood. Lunch special today is lasagna. If you want to come over here and get some good Italian food, grandma's recipe, lasagna here at Tremonti's Meat and Seafood on Jefferson Highway, right down the block from Parkview Baptist Church and School. Connect on Facebook and Instagram.
By the way, Monday night, I spoke at an event to the up in Natchitoches. It was the Cane River Tigers, booster club kind of deal. And Verge Osbury was on the speakerphone while I was there with a couple other people doing it live. And I asked Verge, how much money is LSU going to make off of the game down in New Orleans? The number's $5.2 million is what he said. And I said, do you make more money playing, this game? Would you make more if you played at home? And he said, no, we're making more money by playing down in New Orleans because, they're giving us 100 hotel rooms comped. And we got all we got to do is rent a bus, basically. At home, he says on game day, they have, I think, 3,500 employees that they have to hire and all that. And so, they would net less than that. So they're actually making more money playing in a dome that has 25,000 fewer seats because of all that.
Well, and we talked about that on Hold the Rope last night, and Skip Bertman was the AD for 9 years. And we talked about the business of sports, and that was the main topic. And Skip also emphasized that it gives the alumni and the fans in the greater New Orleans area a chance to go see the Tigers in the dome. Lots of people from New Orleans come to Baton Rouge for an LSU game. But there are those people that, the hotels, whatever it is, they can't get it, work. Now they can get over to the dome on Sunday night and go watch their Tigers play. So that's value for the alumni and the fans. And it's a business decision. Like you said, they're going to net more money, and you play in New Orleans. Skip said they played a couple games in Texas when he was the AD. Because of the alumni base in Houston, the alumni base in Dallas-Fort Worth, and the fans that are over there. So, it is what it is. Now, they're going to play against Florida State in Orlando next year. That's a return part of this contract. But, Ronnie, I wanted to mention this. I didn't realize this until Monday. Brian Kelly, last year, his first game was against Florida State when he was a head coach at Notre Dame. This year, his first game is against Florida State. How many coaches who switch schools open with the same team? There's a little cute nugget for everybody right there. You open the season at two different schools against the same opponent.
The other thing, too, about this game is that I like by the way, 2 years and 8 months. 2 years and 8 months was the last time that LSU played in the Superdome and knocked off Clemson for the national championship. It doesn't seem like it was 2 years and 8 months ago, does it? I mean,
seems like 10 years ago.
Well, see, I disagree. I think on the other side, I think if you look at the state of the program and the fact that the coaching changed and what we've been through from a pandemic, but from my personal, I was just there. I can remember every detail of that weekend. I can remember everything about, where I was on the floor and in the locker room and how I interviewed people. And to me, it doesn't feel like almost 3 years ago. It's going to be interesting for the LSU to go back into that dome, although the world has changed quite a bit since the last time they were there. No question about it. But, and I've had people ask me for tickets. I don't have tickets. You're not going to get free tickets, But if you want them, buy them. I think it's going to be well worth it to go because who knows when the next time is LSU's going to be playing in the dome. It could be a minute. All right,
Tommy, in front of a TV somewhere.
We'll be back on Friday morning for more Sports Shorts Daily. We'll do it. Actually, Tommy, I'm trying to think here. I've got a meeting. I'm actually going to Savannah, Georgia, and I'm going to watch the Savannah Bananas play this week. And I'm actually meeting with the Savannah Bananas World Tour organizer and their owner. So looking forward to that. I'll have a lot of information for you and all when I get back.
We're going to go Friday. Does that fit your schedule?
Yeah, we can. Let me figure out the time.
But you might not go Saturday with radio then.
No, I'll be back Saturday morning.
Where is radio this week?
At the Calandro's Supermarket. We'll be at Calandro's on Perkins and Segan this Saturday morning from 10 until noon. So,
all right, just getting that info out there for people. We're good.
Yeah, but the Savannah Bananas, give them a follow on social media, folks, if you haven't yet. It's fantastic. They are the
Byron Painter says Kevin McGehee, Alexandria guy, if I'm correct, has a kid playing for Savannah.
I'll look that up. I'll look into that and check it out. See, the thing is that there's two teams, right? Yeah. They played in the summer in June and July with their Savannah Bananas team that plays in the Coastal League, and then there's the traveling World
Harlem Globetrotters team. Yeah.
Right, that's professionals. These aren't guys that are in college. These are pros. They play in the rest of the year. And actually, the Savannah announced just last week that they're no longer going to play in the Coastal League. They're just going to do the professional Harlem Globetrotter Banana Ball World Tour team all year round. So, but I'll look into that. I think I might have heard that already, that Kevin McGee's kid was over there playing in that league. But that's going to crush the Coastal League, man. They whenever Savannah played at any other ballpark,
money.
Yeah, they were packed, and everybody wanted to go to games, and now they're not even going to be in the league anymore. But we're actually I'm going to talk to them just about the potential. Is there a scenario where we could maybe bring them to Louisiana for one of those World Tour games, either in 23 or 24, and then also try to pick up a few little nuggets of info that can help the Baton Rouge Rougarou. But so I'll have a full report for you when we come back on Monday's edition of Sports Shorts Daily.
Connect with all of us on social media so you know what time we're going this Friday.
All right, we'll be back with more Sports Shorts Daily on Friday. Until then, thanks to LeBaer's Casino for being our great sponsor and for Tremonti's Meat and Seafood. Have a great day, everybody.